So, let's talk about Netflix. How did this company become the global entertainment empire it is today? Well, it all comes down to a series of massive, high-stakes bets that completely flipped the industry on its head.
I mean, this line really gets to the heart of the Netflix story, doesn't it? It's this wild tale of first taking down a giant and then, in a move nobody saw coming, turning around and taking down itself. It's this cycle, this constant creation and destruction, that's the secret sauce to their incredible rise.
Yeah, when you look at Netflix's history, it's really all about one thing: making these incredibly bold, super risky bets on what's next, even if it meant blowing up what was working for them right then and there. And this quote, this is basically their playbook. It's the whole philosophy that drove every big move they ever made. You know, it's that idea that you have to evolve or you'll just disappear. A pretty powerful reminder for anyone, really, to never get too comfortable.
Okay, so let's go back in time for a second. Picture the late 90s. In one corner, you've got Blockbuster. I mean, this company was an absolute titan, right? Over 9,000 stores. And in the other corner, this tiny little startup called Netflix. All they had was a website and this kind of weird idea to mail DVDs in these little red envelopes. It was the definition of a David versus Goliath fight.
So this is where we see the first big battle. The question on everyone's mind was, how on earth could a little mail-order service even dream of taking on a megastore that was literally on every street corner?
Well, the answer was simple: convenience. Suddenly there were no more late fees, no more driving to the store on a Friday night hoping they had the movie you wanted, and people loved it. Millions of subscribers just flocked to this new model, and Blockbuster, they were caught completely flat-footed. The giant just couldn't adapt, and, well, we all know how that story ended.
And the success was just immense. I mean, get this. By 2007, Netflix had mailed its 1 billionth DVD. 1 billion. They had won. They'd slain the giant, taken the crown, but honestly, this is where the story gets really interesting.
Because right when they were at the absolute top of their game, the kings of the DVD world, Netflix did something that just baffled everyone. They decided to blow up their own successful business. The fight wasn't against Blockbuster anymore. Now it was Netflix versus Netflix. And you have to ask, right? Why would a company intentionally kill its most popular product? I mean, they were absolutely dominating the market with something people loved. Why risk all of that on some unproven new tech? It just seemed like complete madness at the time.
Well, the answer was a little thing called watch instantly. See, internet speeds were getting faster, more people had broadband, and Netflix saw the writing on the wall. The future wasn't going to be in physical discs, it was going to be digital streaming. So back in 2007, they launched a service that they knew would directly compete with and eventually, eat their own DVD business. The CEO, Reed Hastings, made this incredible, and at first really painful all-in bet. He even tried to split the DVD business into a whole separate company, and people hated it. Subscriber numbers actually dropped. But he was just so convinced that streaming was the future, he was willing to, burn the ships to get there. And boy, did that bet pay off. Big time. Today, out of their 139 million paid subscribers, an absolutely staggering 98% are streaming only. That old DVD business? It's barely a blip on the radar. The self-disruption actually worked. And their dominance just took on a totally new form. To put it in perspective, on any given weeknight in North America, Netflix accounts for a full 1/3 of all internet traffic. Think about that. They went from owning the mailbox to basically owning the internet. But of course, success brings competition. Streaming was now the standard, which meant a whole new war was starting. This time, it wasn't about how you got the movies. It was about what movies you had. Suddenly, it felt like everyone wanted a piece of the action. You had the tech giants like Amazon. You had the old-school media powerhouses like HBO. They all launched their own services, and the pressure on Netflix was just immense. Because think about it. Netflix's delivery system wasn't special anymore. Anybody could stream video now. So, to survive in this super crowded space, they had to make another huge pivot. They had to go from being just a distributor of other people's stuff to a creator of their own. And their strategy for this was so bold. First, they just shocked Hollywood by outbidding huge networks like HBO for big-name shows. Then, they just opened the floodgates, producing this tidal wave of their own original content. I mean, everything from huge blockbusters to tiny indie documentaries. The goal was simple: own their own library, control their own destiny. And they absolutely put their money where their mouth was. In 2018 alone, Netflix spent a jaw-dropping 13 times billion dollars on original content. That's more than any single network, more than any Hollywood studio.
They weren't just trying to compete anymore. This was a play for total domination.
And you can see the results right here. With 112 Emmy nominations, Netflix broke HBO's unbelievable 17-year streak of being the most nominated network. They didn't just show up to the party in Hollywood, they basically took it over.
So that brings us to today. Where does this constant cycle of reinvention lead? I mean, what happens when you've beaten every boss, conquered every challenge?
I mean, look at this journey. First, they disrupted the video store. Then, in 2007, they disrupted their own business with streaming. And from 2013 on, they've been disrupting Hollywood itself. Every single step meant abandoning what was working in the past to grab onto the future.
And the results? They're just undeniable. A 58% jump in subscribers in just 2 years. It's proof that their perpetual innovation machine is just firing on all cylinders.
And so, that brings us to the big final question. Netflix disrupted physical media. Then they disrupted themselves. Then they disrupted Hollywood. So what's next? In a world that's changing faster than ever, what giant do they have to take on now? Or maybe more importantly, what part of themselves do they have to be willing to kill to stay on top?